Boston Harbor Islands National and State Park. We are a partnership park. We have over 11 different partners, which include Boston Harbor Islands, Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation, and the National Park Service. So we as a partnership acknowledge that we are on the territory of the Massachusetts who have lived and cared for these waters for thousands of years and who still care for them today. So we are going to be talking about the history of the island that we're on today, specifically George's Island, and then also Fort Warren. And we're going to be telling the story of the island and the people who have lived here over the years. But first I want to talk a little bit about the islands in general. So our islands are unique. There are about 34 different islands and peninsulas in the harbor. And they were formed about 15,000 years ago when the glaciers began melting. As they began melting and receding, they left deposits in their wake. So when they were receding, they left these inverted spoon-shaped hills.
So I am here at the famous Fort Warren, also known as George's Island, off the coast of Boston, Massachusetts in the USA, learning about our history during the Civil War and the games people played around that time.
The story goes, they fell into their ranks late and they said, well, what's the news? And the response was, well, John Brown's dead. And if any of you are familiar with the song John Brown's Body, that is the origin of the song. When their term ended here, a lot of them joined the 12th Massachusetts Regiment, and when they left Fort Warren, they sang this song in Boston Commons, and they sang it again in New York, and again outside of DC, where Julia Ward Howe, a poet, heard them singing this song, and she wrote the words to the Battle Hymn of the Republic. After the original training regiments left here, Governor Andrew continued to want to be helpful. And so in October of 1861, it was determined that Fort Warren would become a prisoner of war camp. Colonel Dimmick, whose quarters were just beyond this corner over here, was a West Point graduate who was stationed in Virginia at the start of the Civil War. And he was sent here in October of 1861. He was told to prepare about 100 rations for 100 prisoners for about 30 days. Very shortly after his arrival and the arrival of the garrison, the first prisoners arrived from Fort Lafayette in New York. He'd only been told to prepare for about 100 prisoners, but actually arrived with 600 uniformed Confederate prisoners and about 155 political prisoners who were mostly from Maryland. They were incredibly unprepared. He was captured in May of 1865 and brought here. He was originally put in solitary confinement in a basement casemate, and he eventually complained so much that he was brought up into that upper casemate, the same casemate as Mason and Slidell after the Trent affair, but they only stayed for a couple of
Yeah, do you need me to hit the red button or is it already?
Oh, it's already recording.
Oh, okay, good for you. There you go. Yep. Yeah, give it more of a head start. Move.
The story of the Lady in Black is at its heart a love story. It is the story of Samuel and Melanie Lanier, who were a newlywed couple from South Carolina. And when the Civil War broke out, Samuel decided that he needed to enlist. And he did so. And he was sent to the front lines where he was eventually captured. And he was brought here to Fort Warren.